Hi, everyone. Our subject today is about free will and determinism. Free will is a moral, religious, and social concept that is central to philosophy and most religions. It has been argued that the basis of freedom lies in the contingency of natural events. Though this line of reasoning has been by and large abandoned for freedom to exist at all, the concept of strict universal causality will have to be suspended, at least in the moral sphere. Another line of thought sees the foundation of freedom in spirituality. That is, the soul, as immortal, is not subject to the deterministic laws of nature. Whatever the explanation, belief in free will amounts to the conviction that as individuals, human beings are endowed with the capacity for choice of action, for decision among alternatives, and specifically that given an innate moral sense, humans can freely discern good and evil and choose the good, though they often do not. Determinism is the philosophical view that, given certain initial conditions, everything resulting from is bound to happen as it does and in no other possible way. Thus, nothing in nature is contingent, nor is there any room for human freedom. The partisans of a hard determinism hold that none of one's action is free, but only appear to be so. Consequently, moral responsibility is an illusion. Soft determinists or compatibilists, those who compromise, believe that while one's actions are indeed caused, one is nevertheless free, since causality does not compel one's will. Now, in Judaism, a person is born free because he or she is created in the image of God, who is free. Definitely, God is free. If their belief we're created to the image of God, then we are free. The faithful abolish completely his or her will in favor of God. Yet, according to the Bible, human obligations flow from two sources: divine law and their conscience. Yet, the major collective occurrences in the life of Israelites were commanded and predetermined by God. So the Bible said, so the verses and the story is telling us. Jews believe God predetermined other major events like when people will born, at what time, what date, and when will one of them die, etc. And if he or she and when is going to get married, uh, etc. I mean, these things are things of the individual life. So God is having this as predetermined. This is how the Jews believe. Outside of this, nothing could abolish the free will, which means one can have his or her free will outside of those major events in the individual life. Therefore, the moral responsibility of the person falls on what comes after that, which means we will be compensated or punished according to our acts and behavior and so on. That's in Judaism. Now, in Christianity, which is among the major religions that emphasize the freedom of humanity to the last consequence, even the existence of evil in face of the omnipotence of God is justified in terms of the supremacy of humankind and the human essential freedom to adopt its own goals and to choose its own course of action. Conflicts arise between scholars defending the doctrine of free will against aggressive denial of it, implying complete dependence upon God's grace. Normal conflict. One is with, other scholars is against. As for Islam, which means Christianity have the double standard, if you want, as almost any other religion, there are who believe in free will, who believe in determinism, in Greek. Islam holds the belief that major events are fated and decreed by Allah. This allows one to affirm the underlying uniformity and rationality of the universe, which means God created the universe and he determined and he had the law he wanted ahead of time placed, and there you go, universe and the creation are there. The concept of fate, however, was borrowed from pre-Islamic Arabic literature, especially from poetry that was not necessarily religious, historically and customly and so on. It became subordinated in Islam to a divine predestination that by itself does not forfeit the actual freedom of the individual's will. It stayed there nevertheless, but it concerned God. But the free will, the human free will, is always in action. This concept were disguised later on and dismissed. The argument is that while in God's mind everything is determined in advance through his foreknowing, the active believer is totally ignorant of this determination and therefore enjoys fully the freedom to choose. Supported by many verses in the Quran, we cite few to confirm that the free will is basic and essential to mankind. It's even natural, but bears, of course, responsibility. We're going to read the verses, but first I'm going to explain the idea here, whereby, yes, God knows in advance everything, but the human being is unaware of this. This is why he can use, or he can be as free as he can and use his free will to choose this or that. This is what the idea said. And it's supported by many verses. Those verses range from verse number 256 in Surah 2, which says basically, no coercion in religion. This is the foundation of free will. To verse from ranging from this verse to another verse, which is verse number 6 in Surah number 109, which says, to you be your religion, and to me my religion. Which means you're free to believe what you want, and I'm free to believe what I want. This is a formula, a general formula, and it's again the base of having the freedom to choose. To the verse number 99 in Surah 10, which says, and here God is addressing Muhammad, and of course he's addressing all of us. God said, and had your Lord, O Muhammad, in the sense, and had your Lord willed, if God wanted, those on earth would have believed, all of them together. If God so willed, he could have made all people, all mankind, believe. So the verse is like, is a reproach to Muhammad, because Muhammad was trying to convert people, let's say. So, will you then compel mankind until they become believers? Are you going to force them to become believers? Let them believe or not believe. That's the message. Finally, to the verse number 29 of Surah 18, which says, as well, God is telling Muhammad, and say, O Muhammad, and say nothing but the truth from your Lord, or say the truth from your Lord. Say what your Lord told you to say. What is he told you to say? Then whosoever, after the message is delivered, after the guidance is presented to people, then God said, then whosoever wills, let him or her believe, and whosoever wills, let him or her disbelieve. There is no better clear sign and message of free will than this verse in the Quran. Thank you.